This is Bob Staunton, brother of Bob, and part-time bum fluff collector. I'm not recommending you subscribe to the Tommy Boyds Shrine YouTube channel. Why would you want exclusive rare audio? Push off, you jumped-up lefties. Don't subscribe. This classic afternoon show proposes we send children to work. Personally, I have no problem sticking them up a chimney. Send them down the mines as well. Call me Mr. Bumble.
His is the worst voice you will ever hear.
Will he offer me his teeth?
The Tommy Boyds Show will teach you nothing. Nothing.
Always read the label.
Nothing but iniquity and wickedness.
If you really bug me, then I'll say goodbye.
Good morning. This government has set itself one task above all others. Yes, we'll deal with that tyrant in the Gulf. Yes, we will repair this nation's tattered social fabric. Yes, we will build a dome in Greenwich. But above all else, education, education, education. Those are the very words of Tony Blair when he was asked what his main priorities would be if and when he becomes Prime Minister. He replied, I have 3 priorities: education, education, education. Between now and 3 o'clock, though, let's help him work out how to pay for it and how to make sure that it is of the highest possible quality, how to make sure that our children enjoy being taught, how to make sure that our children, when they leave school, are ready for the world and all that it's going to throw at them. Free call 0500 1053 89. You know what's wrong with British education? School children don't do any work. They don't do any work at all when they're at school. They read and they write and they do arithmetic and they do experiments and they do their tables and they've got a nature tray. But they don't do any work. They don't do any actual work from the age of 5 until 15, 16, in some cases 18, 20, 21, 22. They don't do any work at school. Free call 0500 1053 89. If we brought the factories into our junior schools, into our primary schools, into our secondary schools, then not only could we help education pay for itself, but we would provide our school children with some invaluable insights into just what life, sadly, all too sadly, is all about, which is work, isn't it? Love and work, that's what life's all about. Well, they'll find out about love their own sweet way. But they need to know what work is like. So why don't we, for example, here's my thinking, for example, why don't we teach youngsters from the age of about 7 or 8, they'd be quite good at this, to do manicures and to do chiropody. Obviously not major chiropody, but just a little bit of foot care for people who wouldn't ordinarily be able to afford to pay somebody to do their fingernails, buff them up, give them a nice clip, massage some oil into the back of their hands, and ditto for the feet. £7.50 for a 25-minute manicure and pedicure at school. The school would keep £6.50 of it. The youngster would keep 50 pence of it themselves. That would reduce the amount of truancy, because an awful lot of youngsters who decide not to go to school aren't going to school because there's actually no sort of lure at school for those youngsters. But if they knew they were going to earn £2.50 in the course of the day so that they could enjoy their weekends even more, you see what I'm saying? There'd be money for the schools to spend on books and videos and buses and curtains for the school play and things like that, without having to resort to those dreadful jumble sales and bring and buys. Oh, nightmare. No. Let's get our youngsters working. Not all day long, don't misunderstand me. Half the day they'd spend with their books. The other half of the day they would spend doing jobs like sewing footballs. If we had our youngsters in this country sewing footballs in school for a couple of hours a day, first of all, it would make them close those dreadful sweatshops that we read about in Bangkok. It would mean that our youngsters would know what goes into a working day for people around the world. Not just people around the world, people in this country too. Listen, this is a very serious point. Quite a few youngsters who are desperate to leave school and get a job, any job, okay, and therefore abandon their education, would be made to recognise the value of education and learning if they found out just what a nightmare some work can be, okay? Free call 0500 10 53 89. Our competitors are getting ahead. In the tiger economies, in the Pacific Basin, people are leaving school and arriving at the workplace ready to start work. They know what work is all about. They've been working from the age of 7. You've got a workforce that already knows how to work. In this country, so many employers will tell you that people are arriving fresh from school. They haven't got a clue what being in an office or being in a factory or being in a coal mine is all about. So why don't we teach our youngsters? What jobs do you think we could create within school buildings that would help pay for education, help get some pin money for children, provide services and goods at a cheaper rate in this country than they're currently produced at? I'm suggesting manicures and pedicures. What about electronic assembly lines? Children have very small fingers, they're very dexterous, they're very bright, they could certainly handle a soldering iron. If that's what's involved in making up some of those little transistor packs that go into our Walkmans these days, then why shouldn't school children be doing that? Nobody else wants to. And what about micro packaging? And what about painting those little tiny footballers that you still get? Jobs like that, which children elsewhere and women at home at the moment have to do, school children would happily do. What a good experience for them. What a good source of revenue for schools. And what a valuable piece of education in what education is all about for our youngsters. Free call 0500 10 53 89. And, you know, if they spent the first 3 hours at school working, doing proper work, they'd have some money in their pocket. But perhaps most important of all, they would arrive at the business of their real education with a brand new enthusiasm. This is a rock-solid idea. I welcome your contribution. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There is a good argument for listening. Yes, we're on to a winner here. Becky calls from Plymouth. Becky,
Tommy.
You're on Talk Radio. We've got this one right again, haven't we?
Tommy, you're talking an absolute load of rubbish. I'm sorry. Did you know that the highest percentage of children in England are working underage in the whole of Europe? They do work. Of course they work. I'm at university now. I've just had a year out work experience. I've worked since the age of 11. I've been waitressing. I've done numerous things and so have a lot of other people my age that I know. So I totally disagree with you and I'm thinking you're talking a load of rubbish.
Yeah. No, it's a shallow thinking, Becky. You're obviously going to a poor university. Which red brick one are you at?
I'm not actually. I'm at Plymouth.
No.
But it's definitely not. It's one of the best business schools in
Plymouth
the UK, Tommy.
Is not a university. Okay?
Tommy, of course it is. How can you say that? That's very ignorant, actually.
It's a polytechnic, and it calls itself a university because all the lecturers want to be university lecturers.
No, Tommy, it's very reputable now. It's one of the best business schools in the UK.
You know
have you seen the charts, Tommy?
Have you spoken to Mr. Ansell about this in the education department?
No, but I think I should do, Tommy. I would
if I were you. Mr. Stephen Ansell.
Stephen Ansell?
Yes.
Well, I will do.
Late of my parish. So don't lecture me about Plymouth University. And don't expect a lecture from him because he's not a university lecturer either.
No, Tommy. I mean, my point is, seriously, you're saying that children don't work. They have no practical experience from the age of nursery through secondary school, what have you. And this is my point. I think you're wrong. They do. Of course they do.
Not enough of them.
Most before GCSE from 12 to 16.
Nah. Children aren't working at school, Becky. This is the point. This is the discussion. What they do with their free time is entirely up to them. How are you going to fund education?
But they're practically working, Tommy.
How are you going to fund education?
You're saying bring industry into school, bring factory lines into the school.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. Well, you said that 3 times now. Are you going to say it any more?
Well, no, that's my point.
Well, it's not a very good one. It's almost entirely irrelevant. But I'm not surprised if you sit at the back of your lectures at Plymouth University.
I don't,
you can get away with
and I'm
that
doing very well, Tommy.
Can't get away with that here. Yeah.
Anyway, that was my point. But,
Go away, honestly. You're hopeless, you are. Honestly, I'm not having anybody under the age of 25 on this programme any longer, and no more students. They're hopeless. We're trying to find a way of paying for education. It's less than feeble to ring up and say, but some children have jobs. Yeah, the occasional child has a job. What I'm talking about is all children, every single child, from the age of 5 until they leave school, should spend half their school day doing productive work. And by productive work, I mean work that brings in money and helps the community. It'll benefit them, it'll benefit education. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Robert calls from Norfolk. You're on Talk Radio, Robert.
Oh, hello, Tommy.
Robert.
Well, I would just like to take your point one step further, if I may.
What a good idea.
And I think that old age pensioners should be put back to work also.
Pensioners
Now, that
should
might
go back
sound
to
a bit
work.
controversial, but I think pensioners should be made to work for their pensions.
Mm-hmm.
Ones that are fit and healthy anyway.
Okay, thanks for your call. Peter calls, and we'll talk to Peter after John in Hertfordshire. You're on Talk Radio. John, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy?
John.
Yeah. Oh, well, market research or like consumer research out on the streets, because I remember being sent out by school and everyone just wants to come and talk to you when you're doing one of these surveys.
You're so right.
Yeah. So, like, if the big companies got onto the schools, paid them,
Yeah.
I mean, you want to run away from these people in the shopping centres.
You do.
Yeah.
But when it's children,
Oh, yeah, they're there.
you're happy
Everyone's
to
queuing.
talk to them.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. What would children charge for doing market research? And all they've got to do, actually, is ask the questions that are written down on the sheet of paper. So it requires, some basic reading skills, social skills, writing, and a little bit of initiative. So that's a valuable piece of education itself, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
About 50p an hour?
What, their self, to get their self? Or
Yeah.
Well, the schools could charge probably about £4 an hour.
Yeah, what does market
Give them
research
You've got to give them
cost?
something, surely.
What does market research cost? If you want to market research a new hat, and you go to one of these market research firms, do you have any idea what they charge?
No, probably a fortune, huh?
I'll bet it's 1,500 quid,
Yeah.
because that's kind of about the going rate for projects, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to write to you as well, Tom, because I thought that maybe children should be paid to go to school anyway.
I've always thought that.
Yeah, I don't know anyone, any other company that would do things like what we do to children.
No, it's beyond me, man.
Yeah.
We make them go and sit in those buildings all day long when all they want to do is go out and run in the fields, and we don't even pay them.
Even prisoners get paid for doing
Prisoners
work.
get paid. They get a worse deal than prisoners.
Yeah, they do.
You're welcome to this show, John.
All right.
I like your thinking. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Here is Peter in West Yorkshire. You're on Talk Radio, Peter.
Hello, good morning. Good afternoon, Tommy.
Good morning, Peter.
I couldn't agree more with the last thing. They should be paid to get to school. Give them full rights, Tommy. None of this fiddling around.
Yeah.
Children have no rights.
Couldn't
They
agree
should have
with you, man.
full union rights.
Yeah.
And secondly, get rid of ball games, these stupid football. Make them extracurricular.
Yes, that's right.
And get rid of homework, Tommy.
Every time. How can we do that to our children? We make them learn all day long, and then when they come home to the bosom of their family and some nice cartoons on the telly, we make them do more work.
Oh, it's atrocious. And can you imagine having all these rights, Tommy?
Oh.
They'd be able to have decisions in the school. Get rid of these inefficient, awful teachers, which there's so many of them, and get them a real say. They'll enjoy it. They'll be a member of the Transport and General Workers Union with a bit of clout.
And I do agree with what you say about getting rid of ball games in schools.
They should be extracurricular, nothing wrong with them, but
Absolutely
they will.
right.
If you play, as you know yourself, Tommy,
Yes.
if you are forced to play a team game, and not
Yes.
everybody likes them,
No.
you will be put off sport forever.
This is a terrible thing, but it does happen. You're
Oh,
right,
it
Peter.
does, and that's why we're so bad at the Olympics.
Yeah, and that's why when you walk up and down any high street in Britain at any time of the day or night, you will see a sea of miserable faces because people have had their joie de vivre crushed out of them whilst they were at school.
Like me,
Oh, my
exactly
God.
what happened to me.
Oh, it's a tragedy. isn't it?
It is a tragedy.
Why
Great
do we
idea.
do it?
Let's get them the right. Let's put inefficient teachers out. Let's have children voting for inefficient teachers to be booted out.
If I was funny that way, Peter, I'd marry you. Thank you for your call.
Thank you very much, Tommy.
Nice
Bye-bye.
to talk to you. What a nice man. May he live forever, one way or another. With a heart like that, he will. Elaine calls from Shropshire. You're on Talk Radio, Elaine. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy.
Hello.
It seems the way forward for children to be working at school. But how would they monitor that?
Monitor it.
Yes, to see that they're not doing too much physical work. And how long before they're exploited?
What are you talking
How would you
about?
apply that? How would you apply? Who would monitor how much work they do?
Well,
at
teachers
school?
would, wouldn't they, obviously?
The teachers would do that.
What else are they going to do? Are you there? Hello? Whoops, yes, we've got a funny old line there. Hang on, let me see if I can clear it. No. Elaine, you've got a funny line. We'll call you back. And we will do that. We'll talk to Sophie now, who's in Middlesex.
Tommy,
Sophie, good afternoon.
good afternoon.
Welcome to Talk Radio.
Scientists tell us that when we die,
Yes?
millions of our brain cells die with us unused. So there is, in my opinion, there is not enough education of the right sort, I would point out. And really, that's why I disagree with what you're saying. We want the right sort of education. Now we have the internet, computers, robots. We really got to think about what we have to teach our children and what will be unnecessary in the future.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Not yet. Not yet. You haven't said enough. You haven't committed yourself. All been fairy, wishy-washy stuff.
That is really
I deal in lead,
point.
friend. I deal in lead. Come on, let's nail this one down.
Straight
nuts
to
and
the
bolts.
point
What do you,
I am at.
What exactly are you saying?
I am saying that in the future, we will not need so much mundane work.
Yes.
We will
What are you
have
going to teach them?
computers, robots, as I said before,
Yes.
to do it.
Oh,
What we should do is teach children how to use the internet. Because then, when they want to know anything about history, religion, politics, anything, just tap it up.
You don't have to teach them how to do that. They can.
Well, they can do it. So there's another great asset.
Takes about 3 minutes flat, and they know how to do it.
Yes.
So what are you going to do with the rest of their 15 years in education?
Well, let them live, for goodness sake. Let them enjoy. Let them roam the fields and play football and do whatever they like. Let them enjoy. Most of us have to spend our lives slugging. And then we die off with millions of our brain cells unused. They can learn how to use those and enjoy them.
But you see, I do have to take issue with you on this point. You seem to believe that it is possible for us to stimulate brain cells which at the moment are lying dormant.
Yes, because they're not... at school, a lot of work is so...
Do you know a lot about neurology?
No, I don't, Tommy.
No,
Only
you
what
don't.
I've read. And
Yes,
it seems
what
to
would
me
that
a
be?
lot of it is true.
How much is that then? And what is that?
I should say I'm pretty well read.
Yes, but what is it you've read about neurology?
Well, I have read, as I told you, that...
What?
We don't use enough of our brain in the right way.
Yeah.
We use it in silly ways.
In silly ways?
But I think we should be allowed to enjoy from an early age.
Yes.
Not sent out to work, etc., etc.
Etc., etc. So thank you, that was a good try, and very well meaning. And thin on substance. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Andrew calls from Stirling, and we'll speak with him in just a moment. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There is a good argument for listening. You know what's wrong with British education. Our children don't do any real work. I mean, you shouldn't need school cleaners for a start. The children made the mess, they can clean it up themselves. The difference would be you would save money and you would pay them money to do the work. Sewing footballs, providing essential services for the elderly, maybe learning to cut their hair, certainly to carry out manicures and pedicures. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Here is Andrew calling from Stirling. You're on Talk Radio. Andrew, hello.
Hey, Tommy, how's it going, man?
Couldn't be better yourself.
Not so bad, not
We're
so
on
bad.
to a good one here.
No, Tommy, man, I think you're a bit of a right-wing bigot. I'm sorry.
Don't like the sound of that, friend.
Well, you see, I think it's everybody's basic right to an education. You see, you take away education from kids, you're going to curb all this creative talent that children have inside of them to do good, to be better people. And you take that away from them, man, they're going to have nothing.
Well, you see, I don't think you know much about education, do you?
I'm a student, actually. I'm at the University of Stirling.
Exactly. So you've only known about it because you've been on the receiving end of it.
No. My mum's a teacher, too.
Then you only know about it because you've been on the receiving end of it.
No, not at all.
Well, you're very stupid if you can't see that what I am saying holds water 100%. You've only ever been on the receiving end of it. Okay?
Uh-huh.
All right. Okay, well, educationalists such as myself recognize that education is a much broader business.
Education can't be run as a business. It can be run as a business, and that's what the government are trying to do.
And that's what they should do.
No, that's not what they should do. It should be everybody's basic rights in education.
No, you see,
along with food,
you're
water,
young and you're shallow, and you don't know about paying the bills because you've never had to do it yet. But you will find that the country has to pay the bills in just the same way as you will when you're a little bit older and you understand about responsibilities when you're a bit more grown up. Okay? And the world's a harsh place, and unfortunately, the bottom line has to tally. And at the moment, we're finding education too expensive.
So you're really going along with capitalism then? You really agree with it?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, well, then we disagree.
Well, fine, but how are you going to pay for education?
Well, there are a number of ways.
And let me hear one of them now.
Taxes.
Yes, and in order to pay tax, people have to...
Work.
Right. And so I got the impression you had some kind of philosophical objection to the notion of free enterprise.
Well, I don't think children should be made to work. People should be made to get back to work.
Children, listen, pal, If you said to children, would you like to sew footballs this afternoon or do your 7 times table, they'd choose to sew footballs every time.
Yeah, I know, that's bad.
But you're the kind of guy who makes them do their tables.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you just go back 30 seconds to where you were saying that children shouldn't be made to do anything, you're saying that what they should be doing is made to do what you want them to do.
No, they should be educated.
I don't know.
Yeah?
I wish people who disagreed with me were better at arguing than people like you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It'd be much more interesting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, for all you know, what I'm saying is a load of old rubbish. It's just that, you can't construct an argument against it. That's what's astonishing, isn't it? Don't you think?
Perhaps.
I mean, you can tell that there might be something not quite right with what I'm saying, but you can't put your finger on it, much less extrapolate it.
Well, I had a very late night, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, peace. I'll see you later.
So 7:45. 3 call 0500 1053 89. Did you start for the whole of EastEnders? Dear me. Michelle calls from Essex. You're on Talk Radio. Michelle, good afternoon.
Oh, Tommy,
Michelle.
I think you're absolutely right.
Oh, I know.
You couldn't have been more right.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Certainly does. I worked from a very young age. I started working in a sweet shop when I was 12, but I enjoyed every minute of it. And as soon as I left school, I couldn't wait to get out there and get a job. And too many kids nowadays, they leave school, they don't know the value. They don't know the meaning of work. They don't. And some of them never will. And I just think it puts a spirit in them.
Put some spirit in them, doesn't it? Yes. What?
Yeah.
Working on a production line.
That's right. Yeah. Or just
doing a menial, repetitive task.
Just be working. I mean, like, you can't work in a team when you're doing your times tables.
Being
but
paid
you can when
virtually
you're
nothing.
sitting around a desk working.
Yes, being paid virtually nothing.
That's right.
Not allowed to talk to each other.
That's
and
right.
can't anyway because of the roar of machinery. That's living, isn't it?
That's right. And this is where the parents come in. The parents are supposed to be there of an evening teaching them what they can't get taught in schools because there isn't enough time to divide their time between the children. And
Mind you, I've never got this. It doesn't really take 15 years, does it? Day in, day out, week after week.
It doesn't.
To teach children to write and read and do their sums. I don't get why it takes so long.
No. And I think they do an awful lot of hours at school. And it's nice for them to enjoy some of it.
Yeah.
It really is. And as I say, I mean, you've got some children, my son goes to school with many children that don't do anything at home. So if they wasn't doing it in school, the parents would have to then sit down with the children at home. It makes such sense.
It does. Thank you for your call. Free call 0500 1053 89. Fred in Staffordshire. You're on Talk Radio. Hello, Fred.
All right, Tommy.
Fred.
I think you've been a bit slow on this. You need to expand it a bit more.
Let's do it.
You've realised everything that's involved with it. If you've got a business, you need somebody to market it. You need somebody to do the invoicing. You need somebody to do the accounting. You need somebody to do the managing. I mean, they're great skills to learn for those that don't want a hands-on experience.
Quite right, too.
You can go out into the countryside. They can do the farming. They can keep chickens. They can keep ducks. They can keep goats. They can keep cows.
Yes.
And somebody there's got to stand on the side of the road and sell it for them as well.
Yes.
In the cities, we can have engineering factories and all sorts of things.
Yes.
Make everything.
First of all, let's look at some of the practical problems involved in your agricultural idea. First of all, you've got to transport them away from their school and into the rural area. Even if it's a rural school, they've still got to be transported to the place of work, and that's a logistical demand, isn't it?
Well, where there's a playing field, you just put another field on the side of it.
But they've still got to be taken there, and they've still got to be looked after. At the age of 7 or 8, you can't just let children run amok with chickens.
These could be the older children. We're talking senior school children.
Okay, quite possibly.
And they keep all these people that want free-range chicken eggs and that, keep them happy then as well.
But if you've studied basic economics, you will know, Fred, that it's important to take the work to where the workforce is, and preferably have the workforce where the customer is. And since most schools are in city areas, where there are plenty of customers immediately around the school, if you have the work done in the school, and the customers visiting the school to purchase the service or the goods, then you've got minimal overheads, you're onto a winner.
Well, that point taken on that. Point taken
why I
on
was
that.
suggesting manicures.
I just thought the people who left out in the country might feel left out. It's had nothing to do.
Well, we've got to leave people out of the country, haven't we, at the moment, because, we're not that bothered about people in the country, really, are we, Fred?
Well, not really, no.
Not really.
No.
I mean, they'd make a song and dance about everything, but they've all got plenty of Range Rovers and...
Point taken.
It's true, isn't it? It's a fact. I mean, we've got this countryside march coming up soon. They're going to burn a load of beacons and Visit London or something like that. But they don't know what they're on about, do they?
No.
They don't know what they're on about, so how are we supposed to know what they're on about?
I don't think anybody really knows what they're on about.
No.
They pretend they're poor when really they're very rich.
They are a bit slow on the uptake, country people. It's as simple as that. Whether they're the squire of the manor or the bloke who's looking after the pigs, they are a bit slow.
That's the interbreeding, generally.
Cement-based people.
Yeah.
Nice talking to you, Fred.
Okay, cheers then. Bye.
It's always good to hear some wisdom. Somebody said, news stands for north, east, west, south, or something like that. Yes? Somebody said that. Oh, guess what Y stands for? Wales, Ireland, Scotland, and England. I don't know. Did you ever get that happen to you? Thoughts come from nowhere. I don't know where that came from. We are actually discussing a form of wisdom in this hour of the programme, which is how to make British education not only more valuable, but also more viable. And Colin calls from Sussex. You're on Talk Radio, Colin.
Good afternoon to you, Tommy. Tommy, you've not gone far enough.
Let me hear it.
Sooner we get all young and small people into full-time employment, the better. The fact is that education was started, I don't know, probably 200 or 300 years ago to try and develop people so that they're ready for the working world. And it's just become an institution in itself, and it's not really doing anything.
I agree with you.
At the moment. And what happens is people separate education from work, and you need to integrate them.
Yes.
And if we start young people working earlier, then what we'll do is we'll carry education on much later in life.
Yes. You're a wise man.
It will all be of greater value to all of us.
I've got somebody from Stenning on the line who wants to complain about some remarks she's heard about the countryside, claiming that she lives in the countryside. But you come from Sussex. Stenning isn't really the countryside, is it?
It's not far from me at all, actually.
But you wouldn't call it the countryside, would you?
No, not really.
Not really.
It's a village, but it's not really the countryside.
We'll have a word with her. I think I'll bring her in, actually. Would you like to talk to her as well?
Sure, love to.
Right, okay, let's bring Sarah into the conversation. You're on Talk Radio, Sarah. Good
Hello
afternoon.
there. Yes,
Hello.
Robbie. Sorry, Robbie, wrong number. Wrong name. I live in Stenning, and it's the real countryside. I'm just half a mile up on the South Downs.
Yeah.
So, if you know the South Downs and you live in Brighton, you know where Stenning is. Not many people know where it is. And how dare you say that we are backward? I tell you, I'm more forward. Hello?
Stenning's only really a playing field, isn't it? It's not really the countryside.
It's not a playing field, young man.
It is.
It's better than Kenton Place, where you live in Brighton. I tell you, it's a nice place.
If you really lived in the countryside, you wouldn't be as bright as you obviously are.
Well, I'm very bright. I'm afraid I'm a bit brighter than you.
Sharp.
I know.
On the ball.
Shock, horror.
Yes.
Someone's brighter than Tommy. But...
You also wouldn't have time to be phoning in radio stations like this. You'd be out
well, because I was
selling seeds and things.
Milking since 4 in the morning.
Tommy, I was going to play table tennis this afternoon, but I thought it was much more worthwhile listening to your programme just to hear you say that we're all backward in the countryside. However,
most countryside people are a bit slow on the uptake, Sarah.
No, we are not.
Well, you couldn't
and
even
I'm
work...
going to defy you, fight and head.
Well, you didn't even know...
I've got more brains in my head than you'll have in your back pocket, but that's beside the point.
You didn't even know what my name was to start with.
I know I didn't, because I was... actually, I've been asleep, and that's why I forgot who your name is. Now I know who you are. You're Tommy Boyd, and you used to play... You used to be playing at play school. I know all that, Jack.
Yeah, you see, Colin, I mean, talk about somebody just walking into the trap, really.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Frightening, isn't it, really?
No, it's lovely.
I am not backward. And Stenning is the countryside.
Trying hard to back out
She's
of
still
the
on.
track, Tommy.
She's
But
away.
we are.
Yes.
Listen, Kenton Town in Brighton is the worst place to be. So don't you dare say Stenning. Do you know Bramber?
Kemp Town is not Kempton, dear. Kempton Park is in
Town, then. I don't
Sunbury.
really care, because I'm not a Brighton person. How about
Kempton's in Bedfordshire, I think.
Do you know Bramber?
Kemp Town is not
you
Kemp
live
Town
down
town.
That way. I know it's 10 miles away from
I know Britain. Now you must go away, Sarah, and get yourself a psychiatrist or something. I don't know.
Or at least a map of the countryside.
A map of the countryside is a very good start, but she wouldn't know which way up to hold it. They don't in the countryside, Colin.
No.
They're not bothered.
No, a sheaf of wheat is all they're good for, I think.
I know. I had a land agent once. He was a country boy, and he didn't know east from west, and that is true. That is true. Frightening business, what he was charging. Anyway, Colin, what do you do?
I'm a salesman, Tom.
What do you sell?
What do you want?
Ah, what an answer, you see? Urban boy. Go on, Colin. You'll live forever.
I know.
Nice to talk to you. Free call 0500 1053 89. Sean calls from Middlesex. Sean, we're discussing ways of improving education this afternoon.
Yes. I think that we should, all the parents should drop off their babies and their toddlers to school-like places, and there all the primary school children and middle school children could look after them and wipe their bums, and just like basically look after them and school them in how to play games, how to run around, how to balance, that kind of thing.
I think the point you're making is that British schools these days, more than ever before, are effectively a babysitting service, and you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. They are.
In all innocence, Tom, I wasn't actually making that point, but that's a great point as well. Thank you very much for enlightening me.
Not at all. I think you knew what you knew, but you didn't know it.
No, well, I was saying that by doing that, we could teach our children, we could teach the middle school children some good things as well.
Child rearing skills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll make them more mature, and at the same time, the parents can go out and be more immature because they haven't got to look after their babies.
In one of the American states, I think it's Utah, but I'm sure somebody will correct me if I've got this wrong. If a teenage girl, indicates that she would like to have a child before she's 30, okay, what they do in her school is give her a 2-pound sack of sugar, which she has to carry around with her 24 hours a day, right, for a month.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all, just a stack of sugar. It doesn't cry, doesn't make a mess, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't wake up screaming at 3 o'clock in the morning, okay, to give the child some idea of what it's like to have a baby.
Yeah, they did a cover of that on Beavis and Butthead, that same storyline.
Say it again?
They did a cover of that storyline on Beavis and Butthead.
They did?
Where the Beavis and Butthead had to carry around a bag of sugar.
Yes.
And they were like chucking it into the local pond, that kind of thing, to see if it could float or swim.
Yes. However, the point is well made. Youngsters need to know what a nightmare of a responsibility bringing up a child can be.
Yeah, and every now and then we could teach them Aesop's fables.
Yes.
Stuff like that. Yes. And relegate geography and history and stuff like that.
Who needs geography?
To the pits. I don't know. Geography teachers, I suppose.
Who needs geography but geography teachers? Do you know, did you have an MP? I can't believe it. An MP from Castle Bromwich has written to this radio station and complained that I should be taken off the air for maligning geography as a subject. Can you believe...
Sacrilege.
Can you believe that it's clear that all these new Labour MPs have got so little to do? Frightening.
Oh, dear. Soon, Tommy, they will all know that you are one of the true human beings, and you will be elected as the representative of our race, of our species, because you know how babies think.
My home, Sean, is the next century.
Oh, yes.
And I'm decorating it now.
You're a beautiful clown.
Sean, thank you very much indeed for your call and for your wisdom. Actually, I've got 10 tips here, 10 pieces of information that everybody should know before they have their first child. And I'll pass some of them on. If you've ever had a child, or you've got a baby now just home from hospital, or you're thinking about it, I mean, these really will hit you right between, right under the chin. Number 1, pack away all the clothes you're never going to be able to wear again. Number 2, double the time that you think it will take you to recover from pregnancy. Yeah. Whatever you think it's going to take you till you're back to yourself, double it. Sleep train your baby from 6 months old because you have a need to rest yourself. Never do something for a small child they can do for themselves. When small children ask for things, save your energy by ignoring their request for at least 3 minutes. 9 times out of 10, their minds will mean that they'll forget what they asked for, and you won't have to do it. Fantastic advice. If they're persistent and you're going to give in straight away, because if you say no, they'll cry, and that raises the stakes of the whole thing. If the chaos and the mess in your home gets you down, put the baby or the child to one side and clear it up. Because you have to feel as though you're living in external comfort. And that way lies internal comfort. Ignore all the books. I like that one. Number 8, ignore all the books. Number 9, accept that you will feel tired for years. Because you do. And number 10, I think this is an absolute perler. We'll discuss it another day. Or now if you want to. Number 10, top 10 tips. Fantastic. Start your relationship with your partner all over again. Because you have to. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listening.
Hello. Free call 0500 10 53 89 now.
So, if you were required by law to break a bone before now and the end of February, which bone would you choose? Free call 0500 10 53 89. Discussing British education and ways of improving it. Steve calls from Buckinghamshire. You're on Talk Radio, Steve. Let's make them work.
Okay. I think you're quite right there.
Sure.
I was thinking things like proofreading.
Yes.
Because there'll be learning as well as being working as well.
They could start off proofreading Janet and John.
Yep.
And end up proofreading Middlemarch.
Well, yeah.
Fantastic.
Good idea, don't you think?
A very, very good idea.
And also,
yes?
I was doing this when I first started work. I was a postman, and on my delivery, this chap used to clean my football boots for me, polish them up, and I used to give him £1.
Endless things that children could do for money, which would teach them a work ethic.
Yep.
Provide them with a few bob, and help fund British education.
Yep.
It's got to come.
It's got to.
Got to come. Steve, thank you for your thoughts.
That's okay.
What do you do now?
Well, I'm still in the post office. I'm just sort of working my way up.
Hang in there. Let's talk to Andrew, who calls from London. You're on Talk Radio, Andrew. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to compare the what you were saying. You were comparing the city people and the country townsfolk.
Yeah.
You're saying one was thick and the other smart, the city guys.
Seems to be the case, doesn't it?
Well, I also want to say that the international people that come to Britain are much more smart and slicker than those of the national of the cities and the countryside people in this country, really, because they bring in a lot of flair.
Yeah.
You know.
So the immigrant community are smarter than...
No, I'm not really saying that. Really, I'm saying in terms of every kind of person that's come to this country that are not originally British.
Yes.
Including the continental people also.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Also, again, the case of the coast, the people of the coast are much more smarter because they eat fish, and that's brain food. And as we go into land...
Now, this is very interesting, Andrew. This is Scott Chisholm's theory about why the States, the United States of America, is as it is. Yeah. He believes that the further you live away from the sea, right, the thicker you are. And he points out that you've got all that flyover country in the United States where you've got, all the banjo, ding ding ding.
Yeah, the Appalachian
hillbillies. Exactly. And you think it has to do with eating fish?
I think so. I think...
Could be.
Adding to what I was saying about the international people, because up to the 1950s or 60s, a lot of people in this country used to eat fish and chips only.
Yes.
As their staple food, and that is not really brain food. In fact, it causes a lot of heart disease more than brain food anyway.
Yeah.
Or added to your brain, sorry. And I think the other kinds of delicacies have been coming from Thailand, China, India, and all that sort of those countries. They're now sort of like the food stuff in it. They sort of like help the brain to some extent. And I think also, again, eating a lot of fish also, it sort of like brings a lot of new thinking into the brain, really. Because if you look around, all the inventors that you've had in Britain, they really come from very almost close to the sea, really. You see, at least less than 100 miles from the sea.
Yeah, Andrew, you have made a succession of powerful points and made them all well, and I agree with everything you have said, particularly your first point.
All right.
That, if you think that countryside people are thick, you should judge urban people from the point of view of the international arrival.
That's right.
Thank you for your call.
All right.
A powerful point. Very, very well worth chewing on. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. What is the best way to make a nice white sauce to go with a piece of fish? Butter, yes, obviously. Self-raising flour or plain? White, yes. But, and this is where the controversy happens here at Talk Radio, there's one school of thought that says skimmed milk to compensate for the butter, and the other school of thought says that skimmed milk is just white water. Helen calls from Basingstoke. Helen, we're discussing education in Britain today.
Tommy, I think you're absolutely right, and I think children should be made to work, but I don't think they should be paid, because when they leave school there aren't going to be any jobs, and this is probably our only chance of getting any work out of the little devils.
Yes, churlish thinking, Helen, if I may.
I know, but
Churlish.
it's
Not very
a fact, isn't it, Tommy?
Yeah, but revenge is not a valuable motive when it comes to education.
Well, I don't think it's revenge, is it? I think it's being realistic. I mean, they do little enough as it is, don't they? All they do is cause the rest of us work, so get something back off them, eh?
What would you have them do?
Well, perhaps we could have them filling out forms. It would stand them in good stead for when they're on the dole or cleaning
No, you
benches.
see, I don't agree. That will seem to them to be too close to what they do anyway in school, because most of the written work they
they'd
do
have to learn to read and write first. to
looks
do
like
that.
filling out forms. No, sewing footballs. There's all those sweatshops in Bangkok that you read about, and in India, don't you? You read about in Karachi, there's all these sweatshops where children work for 5 pence a football, sewing them up.
What about the fact of these people in Austria now? They want to make it against the law, don't they, for men not to do the housework? So we could get all the girls at least to learn how to do all the chores without complaining.
No,
so
that wouldn't.
we don't have this
That
problem.
wouldn't work in a school, because you would have to recreate domestic environments in order to teach them how to do the job, and that would be an overhead that you couldn't really
I think I'm going to have to
justify.
leave it in your safe hands, Tommy.
Thank you for that. Yes, that's fair enough. But, Helen, free call 0500 1053 89. Paul calls from Hertfordshire. You're on Talk Radio, Paul.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Paul.
I come from Hong Kong, and out there I had to go for education, and I really had to work my butt off to get through education as well as trying to learn. And I think it would be good if you could have children here today. They have to work hard, and they can go and play at school.
But you see, Paul, you're lucky. You were brought up in a community which wasn't afraid to try out new things.
Yeah, they're trying out new things now.
They are, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but Hong Kong people aren't afraid of the winds of change.
No. That's right.
No. They'll try something, and if it works, great, and if it doesn't,
if they don't like it,
forget
try.
it. Exactly. You try that in this. How long have you been here?
Only about 8 years.
You try making any changes in this country to anything, mate.
No, it's too hard.
Not a hope.
No way.
Not a hope.
No way. But if you can do it, then older people can go back to school, because a lot of them are really stupid.
I don't think... What, British old people are stupid?
Yeah, not all of them, but lots of them.
Almost all of them. Surely. And the thing is, again, and this is the difference between Hong Kong and where you are now in Hertfordshire, Paul, I'm sure at home in Hong Kong you found that old people accumulated wisdom and were prepared to pass it on.
That's it, yeah.
There's no wisdom amongst the old folk in Britain.
I mean, they always pass it on to the younger ones.
Yes.
That's it, and it doesn't happen here.
No, it doesn't.
And I miss it a lot.
I'll bet you do. But you can't go back, can you?
No, not now.
Not now, no.
No.
Never mind.
Never mind.
Hong Kong's lost, as they say.
Yep, that's what I think. Okay?
All right, nice to talk to you. Thank you for your call. Sean is on the line from Bristol. You're on Talk Radio, Sean.
Hello, Tommy.
Sean, good afternoon.
How you doing, mate? Basically, I just phoned up, right? Instead of kids going to school 5 days a week, they should be going 3 days a week and 2 days working.
Right.
And instead of all these like RE lessons and things like that, which don't really matter, they should be doing English, maths, and business studies, or something they're going to be able to take out into the big world and use.
Yes.
And all those students and all that, they shouldn't be doing, I mean, not being funny, they go to, university at 11:30, finish at 3. They should be made to work for all their money, instead of us giving all the money to them.
That's
all their grants and all that stuff.
That's right.
That's what I think, Tom. I just like to get my point of view across, mate.
I'm really glad you did, mate. That's a valuable point. What do you do?
I'm a Telewest salesman, mate. Telewest Communications.
Is that right?
Yeah, I've done loads of selling ever since I left school, Tommy.
Well, power to you. That is an honourable
and get all these students working, Tommy, because like, it really annoys me to see them walking down the street just
do nothing
disgusting.
but parties and drink and worse. Yes. Thanks for your call. Free call 0500 1053 89. And if it wasn't for students, we'd have a lot better bands, because they're the people who encourage mediocre bands. But that's a different day. We'll do that another day. John calls now from London. You're on Talk Radio, John. Good afternoon.
Oh, Tommy, I can kill 3 birds with 1 stone.
Sounds good.
I can help the green people, I can help the government, and I can certainly endorse your remarks about children working. At no extra cost to the education system.
Well, we've got to hear this one.
Number 1, kids at school dissect frogs. Stop doing that.
Yes.
The government's got this terrible worry about all these old people, these stupid old people, as this chap just said from Hong Kong.
Yes.
Why not get the kids in a biology class dissecting old people?
Yes.
Now, they're working, they're learning about the human anatomy, they're clearing the country of all these old people, these stupid old people, and all those frogs can go free.
When you say dissection, would you draw the line at vivisection?
Oh, no.
In which case the subject is alive?
No, don't draw. Let them learn about life. You know, I mean, what's the point of having lots of old people filling up the country as the government keeps worrying about it? Why not just solve the whole problem in one go? Dissect live old people. Yeah, sure.
Thank you for your call, John. Helen gets the last word on this one, for the time being at least. Education, a popular topic in the afternoon show. Helen in Buckinghamshire, you're on Talk Radio. Helen.
Hi there.
Hi.
I think it would be a good idea to let the children grow up without having to worry about working.
Well, we're doing that and it doesn't work.
Of course it works.
It doesn't work. Anybody will tell you it doesn't work. We can't afford the schools. We can't afford the schools we've got.
Well, I don't think that's the problem with the kids, though, is it? It's a problem with the adults, really.
Yes, I know, but how are we going to pay for it? It's all very well having these airy-fairy ideas about education being sacrosanct, dear, but it costs.
Of course it costs. Everything costs.
Yes,
I mean, what are you going to let the guy who spoke before do what he wanted to do? And get rid of all our old people?
But the point was he was thinking.
Oh, was he?
Yes, he thought something through.
Well.
But didn't just sort of button himself on the radio and come out with this stuff that you've heard 1,000 times over.
Well, I think to pay, getting back to that, isn't that what our taxes are supposed to do?
Ah, I'd forgotten about that bit. Yes, that's right. Free call 0500 1053 89. In the next hour of the programme, we unveil the most dangerous domestic appliance of them all and ask whether the time has come to ban it. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's a good argument for listeners.
This is definitely not Bob putting a funny voice on. Click like and subscribe to the Tommy Boyd Shrine YouTube channel, and we may get more Bob Staunton. Now, if you'll excuse me, I am going to stick laxatives in Tommy Boyd's coffee. If he won't call it quits, I'll make him strain with the squits.